Today we are talking to the Drifty Vegetarians about traveling while being vegetarian, sustainable travel, and traveling with young children. So stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of This Indulgent Life, where together wanderlusting families navigate respectful parenting, education, and fulfilling our dreams of having an extraordinary life through travel. We believe that life shouldn't just be an obligation, and that the American dream isn't the same for everyone. We believe that life should be an indulgence, so cherished and enjoyed. And the best way to do that is through enjoying experiences together and following our hearts. May you be inspired to do the same. Don't forget to check the show notes for all the links that we'll be talking about in this episode. thisindulgentlife.com/8. But also for all the information you need to enter our launch week giveaway. Our prize pack just keeps building. We have books from inspiring RVers. We have video editing services, my coaching. If you are wanting to travel more with your family and want to figure out how to do it, I'm here to help guide you through that. We have a soft quiet time book that my child just adores, and your child will too. And I believe we're even getting some language lessons. So stay tuned. In the show notes, I'll have all of the updated prizes there. You have to just subscribe to this channel and leave an honest review and rating. Those reviews in iTunes help iTunes see, hey, this is something people want to see, and it's important to share. And it also helps me know what you're liking and what needs improved upon, so I can give you what you want. And finally, remember to check out the new Facebook community. It's just opened, so it's going to be slowly building. But I really want us all to be a community where we help each other in our traveling adventures. You know, whether it's a weekend away or a year away or forever away, we want to help each other work through those logistics and inspire each other as well. So be sure to join the community, and that will also be another chance to enter to win the giveaway. So we are about to talk to the Drifty Vegetarians. This is a family including Sri, Satya, Atya, and Atar. And they are a expat family. So they are from India, and they have been living in the US for the last 16 years. And they say that they fall in line right in between a little bit more than part-time travel, but not quite full-time travel. So what they do is they work really hard to realize their dreams of travel, and at the same time showcasing the world to their children. And you are going to love them just like I kind of fell in love with them. If you are interested in how to travel with food restrictions, especially being vegetarian or vegan, or if you are interested in how to travel more sustainably, and of course traveling with young children, then this is the episode for you. So please welcome Sri, Satya, Atya, and Atar. Oh, and remember, we are all families here, and so sometimes we are going to hear children in the background. You can see you can see both of their kids in the video at the beginning. They are adorable. But remember, the audio isn't going to be perfect because we're interviewing around the world, and we're interviewing with kids in our bedrooms and living rooms. So just keep that in mind as you hear this interview. So let's introduce the Drifty Vegetarians. All right, so welcome. And I'm so excited to have the Drifty Vegetarians here. We have, I think if you're looking at the video, going from my left to my right, we have Sri, and then we have Atya, and Atar, and Satya. And I'm so excited to have you guys all here. I know it's quite late for you guys there, so again, thank you for making the time to do this. And I think a lot of people are going to kind of relate to what you guys are trying to do and really be inspired by it. So I'm excited to kind of get into that. So welcome.
Sure. We're just as excited.
So tell me a little bit about your family, how you guys got into traveling and whatnot.
So, both me and my wife, we grew up in India. We grew up in India, and in India, vegetarianism is a big thing, and that's the title behind. That's the story behind the title, the Drifty Vegetarians, and then Drifty is partly because we love to travel. And I should probably thank my dad he inculcated the whole concept of traveling. He made sure that we were on the road most of the times. And in India, he worked for a government like an organization which had like a travel policy, like you have to take your family out every 2 years, no matter what. Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
Every company needs that.
Yeah. And every 4 years, you could do like a mini international trip, which is close to India. So we did quite a bit of that. And I think that kind of inculcated the whole concept of traveling for me. And I think she has a very similar story where her father took her to quite a few places in India. And then we met here in the States. And then we just, we had the mutual love for travel, and we're just continuing to travel with our little ones at this point.
That's amazing. So Satya, is it the same for you?
Not
or similar
as Shree's father, but yeah, I mean, we did go around in India, not as frequently as they did. But I love travel. I love to see different places, see their culture, their tradition. Even in India, within India itself, different states have different cultures, and the beautiful cities, their architecture, everything is so different. I just really love, and the food.
Yes.
That's the main driving point for me, at least. I love eating. I love food. So I love traveling that way also.
Yeah, I'm such a wimp when it comes to spices, but I so love Indian food at the same time. So it's like this like balance for me.
But Indian food is not always, it has different spices, but it can be made less spicy.
Yeah.
It's the way all the different spices marriage together, but it's good. It's people have wrong opinion about Indian food, that it's always spicy and other stuff, but it's different. But yeah,
just my Indian friends love spicy, so when they make it, it's usually spicy.
That's there.
Awesome. And then, have you guys been traveling with the kids since they were babies, or how did you guys start traveling as a family?
Yeah, actually, our first travel with kids, I mean, he was like 13 months. That's when we went to Hawaii. That was our first outing. I mean, first flight trip with him as a kid. That was, he was 13 months. And with Adi, I think her first flight was when she was 10 months old.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So it's just been always there, right? Like you've been intentionally traveling with your kids basically from the beginning. So do you go like on school holidays, or how do you guys make that work?
Let me take that. So he just started first grade this year. Last year I think the school was a little lenient in terms of taking extra days off. But I think as he progresses to the higher levels of grades in school, the schools are starting to become a little stricter in terms of how many days we can take off and whatnot. So
I think we have to start limit our travel plans, to the school holidays.
Yeah,
we should start doing that.
So in December, I think we did like a 4-country vacation. We went to Egypt, India, Malaysia, and Japan. So he lost about 15 days of school. I mean, I think it's still okay. I think the way
Yeah,
we
in
see it,
Asia, that's so normal. But in like the
yeah,
UK and in the US, that's like grounds for jail time. Like
yeah,
they don't.
yeah,
Actually, I remember last time when we had an interview at the school, we told them about all these traveling that we do, and then she did ask us this question. So what will you do after he joins the school? You know, you cannot really travel whenever you want. How do you want to plan that? And like we were kind of blank for a moment, and then I said, oh, maybe we'll plan during the summer. But yeah, that was your major concern.
Yeah, it's hard too because you know the traveling is so good for the kids' education, but you can
yeah,
only condense into this small little time frame.
Yeah.
So, I wish they were a bit
yeah. And
more
on
lenient. Yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, I think we both believe that I think he learns a lot more, when he actually sees new places outside,
Hmm.
rather than give him like a pen and a paper and then ask him to do math or whatever, English or whatever. He knows quite a bit about countries at this point. I was just showing him a video about Petra, Jordan, and
Ah,
then he was like, yeah, he wants to go there, and then he wants to know about the history. So I think that kind of puts in a warm in his head,
yeah.
to travel more, to know more. That curiosity, I think that's very important.
I would agree. Most kids are like that, and especially boys. They really need more of that hands-on experience, it seems. So,
Yeah.
have you guys thought about homeschooling and then just taking the trips when you want? Or I know that you guys are. I know one of you is at least on work visa. I don't know if both of you are or not, or how
We
that's
both
working.
are on work
Okay.
visa. But
So that's
he started talking about homeschooling, but I'm not a big fan of that.
so the
You're
So
like, I like to work. Thanks.
yeah, I mean, I cannot really. I love vacation. I love traveling, but
sleeping.
you know, after a certain point, like maybe max of 10, 15 days, I'll be craving for home. You know, I have to go
Yes.
back home. I need my food. I need my bed. I need my sofa.
You're
I
like,
can't
these
be
vacations
separated
work
that.
for me. Don't mess up my routine.
Yeah.
And I have a different take on that.
Yeah, he is different.
I mean, as much as I love to homeschool them, at least for a couple of years, we just can't do it because we are, as I said, non-immigrants in America, and we have to maintain our status. We can't really go out of the country for extensive periods of time because, at the border, we are going to get asked as to why we were out of the country for so long. It's going to get complex, and I don't want to be in a situation like that, answering to the CBP or the USCI saying,
Understandable.
you know,
Even as an American citizen, as an
mm,
expat living abroad, when I come back into the country, they're like interrogating me. And I'm like, dude, I'm a citizen. Why am I getting this interrogation? Even my mother, she came for a week when my child was born, and they interrogated her like, well, what is your daughter doing abroad? And like
yeah,
like that's none of your
yeah,
business. So
yeah,
yeah, I feel if I if even as a citizen I feel kind of attacked. I can only imagine like somebody on a visa and whatnot how that would not be ideal.
yeah. But we have been managing successfully with all the travel, so yeah, we are lucky in that sense.
So you guys moved to the US when you guys were in college, right? You
Yeah,
started out as student visa and then
yeah, I finished my bachelor's in India, and then I gave my GRE exam and TOEFL exam, and then came to the States. I got my master's in supply chain, and ever since I graduated in 2005, and been working since then.
okay. And
Yeah,
Satya, you came in school as well?
Yeah, I came for my school on my student visa, and then did my master's, and then got married, and
yeah.
then got
The
into
rest
work
is
visa.
history.
Yes.
So yeah, she was on a couple of visas. Like, she was a dependent, she was not a dependent, she was independent. Now she's a dependent. So it's like, yeah,
There's a lot of back and forth to go through that. Like, I have friends here in Hong Kong. They're Americans and they're here. And like at one point in time, like student visa independent, and then 2 working visas, and then student and working. And there's a lot of back and forth when you keep going changing like that.
Yeah.
My husband's just a dependent. He doesn't have to worry about that. But that's the nice thing about Hong Kong is that if you have one spouse working on a work visa, the other spouse doesn't need a different visa. They can actually work on a dependent visa. So it makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
So what was that like to go from India to America and like start living in this brand new culture?
Well, I had no clue about America. I mean, even to this day, I have no relatives of mine in India, in America. Sorry, my bad. So it was like a culture shock, for sure. I knew a little bit about a few cities like New York, Detroit. That's where I did my master's. But it was a major culture shock to me. Came to the States. Just to give you an example, the first semester that I, did my master's program in, I didn't really understand the way of teaching here. So I I barely passed in my first semester. And I'm like, dude, this is so tough. And then eventually it'll start sinking in about how the education system is here in general. Like, we do a lot of projects, we do a lot of practical, training. Again, if you compare that with an Indian education system, it's a lot more based on theory and, it's not very practical oriented. So I think that kind of took me a little bit of time to, understand the whole education system here. But I think after the second semester, I think everything like fell in place, and then I kind of topped in a couple of subjects of mine, and to this day I feel really proud about it.
Yeah, well, it's a huge adjustment to change like how you're used to learning your whole entire life and then having to learn a completely different way, right? And it's not in your first language, I'm assuming, and
it is.
Yeah. So,
yeah. So in India, I mean, we have English medium schools and English medium. Like our education system in India is like modeled after the UK education system. So everything's taught in India. Like all the cities in India, they just speak English. Like it's very commonly used language.
Yeah.
In India. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys came and you're raising your family now. Both your kids were born there, right?
Born in America,
Born
yes.
in US.
Yeah.
And they are what we call third culture kids then. So they're born in one culture, but families from another culture, and they just are kind of experiencing this mesh of cultures. Do you feel like they realize that there's these different cultures? I know here in Hong Kong, like my kid, I don't think he realizes he's not Chinese. I'm fairly certain he thinks he is Chinese. And I have a friend who has a 5-year-old, and he like looked at her and went, "Oh, so you guys are Americans. I'm Hong Kong." Like, like they don't realize, they think they're completely separate, like ethnicities basically. So do you feel like your kids have more adapted to that American side then, or do you feel like it's a really good mesh of cultures?
I think Atharv has a mixed feeling inside him. He knows that, he is an Indian. He is different from all the other American friends of his. But, how to put it? Yeah, I mean, he's a perfect mix, I would say. He understands, he celebrates, or he understands all our festivals, all our traditions. Like today, it's our New Year. It's our Telugu New Year. So we told him today morning that it's our New Year, and he was able to understand that. At the same time, even the American
like St. Patrick's Day. Thanksgiving. He looks forward to all those vacations as well.
He just
so.
gets
Loves
double the
yeah.
holidays.
Oh,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Double celebration. He loves Christmas. He loves Thanksgiving. He understands what everything is. So
yeah,
yeah,
and he knows that he's a first generation Indian citizen. Well,
Indian American.
Indian American growing up in America. He
Yeah,
knows that.
he knows that.
Yeah,
And
Wow.
he also knows that there is every chance of us maybe going back to India and staying there. And
Yeah.
he's okay with it. So
Yeah.
we are glad that way.
So he's been a good balance there. That's good because that's
Yeah.
a hard balance
Right.
to have sometimes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me more. I know that you guys are taking trips all over the world with two very young children, and many parents feel it's like pointless to travel with young children, especially when you guys first started traveling, they were babies. So a lot of parents feel like you gotta wait till like they're, maybe 6, but usually like 8 or even teenagers. What made you guys decide to travel with your children way before that age? Like as they're babies, what made you guys decide that was a good idea?
I want to take
As-
this. I want to take this.
I'll
Go
just
for
say
it.
one statement. So when Athar was 1 year old, we were home for almost 2 years without going anywhere. So since my pregnancy and the first year of his growing up, so we were at a point where, you know what, we are so frustrated with living within these four walls in one house for 2 years at a stretch. And then it's like we just decided one day that let's just go to Chicago. That's where our cousins live. My cousin lives. So we said, let's just go there. We just booked our tickets like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, and we just went. I was kind of paranoid as to how he would behave. He was just 1 year old. So I called the doctor. I asked her what I should be doing. I Googled, what parents do to the kids if they cry. So they're like, you give them Tylenol, ibuprofen, make them sleep, every other stuff. And then that's what I did. I bought one bottle of ibuprofen or Motrin, and I went on the plane. He just shocked us. He was happy kid. There was nothing. He was happily playing. We just let him do what he wanted to do. We took some snacks, and he was really happy. I think that is we got lucky there with both the kids. They love flight journeys. So that's one thing that I want to do. Just give them the credit that they need. Now you can go.
Yeah, and I think my side of the story, I think I'll probably say this again. I'd like to thank my dad for imbibing the travel seed in us since we were young. And I just wanted to do the same thing with my kids as well. So thanks to him. And that said, I think, when you're traveling with young kids under 2, it's actually a perk because their tickets are free. I mean,
Yes.
It's covered. So why not? So for me, that's the first thing that comes to mind. So like I want to go to maybe Hong Kong, and then I just think about what's the price of our adult tickets, and then I just don't care about either Athar or Adya because they're under 2. So and
They
this is
were under 2.
they were under 2,
Yeah.
and this is what we did when in 2016 I think she traveled to 5 countries paying probably $12 just in taxes. Yeah. So I'm like, why not? It's a perk. So
That's what we did yesterday. We went and took the crystal cable car, and because he's 2, no worries. No, didn't have to pay that like almost $30 ticket.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
what would
I
you
see
say
that
to
as a bonus.
parents who say, but they don't remember it? Like a lot of parents are like, but they don't remember it, so why take them?
I think it's for the parents. It's not for the kids,
Agreed.
right? I mean, the
And
whole
it's a family time. You
Right.
spend those one day or 2 days or 1 week or 10 days together. It's you develop that bond, not just sitting in your house or in your yard, but in somewhere else, with different views and different things to see and enjoy.
Yeah, and I think one of the examples that I can probably give is I think during our Cambodia trip, she had diarrhea. So we were like literally on a diaper changing mission for the 4 or 5 days that we were there.
Oh no.
And we thought it was fine because,
That's
you know,
fine.
we split our time. I said, you know, Monday, Tuesday, or whatever, the first 2 days, I would take Atharv out to the city and then show him a few places, come back home, take care of Adya. And then she would take him back out again. She would see a couple of places by herself. I mean, at the end of the day, I think you're together. You're seeing places. Maybe you're not together for, you know, when you're seeing the place, but then I think you're experiencing the whole culture and everything. So it's a win-win situation, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, maybe not below 2, but after 3 years, once they are age 3 or 4, whatever they see, they do remember. Maybe not each and every place that we visit in a country, but you know, some important places like Paris, the Eiffel Tower. My son remembers that for life. I'm sure that, you know, he saw Eiffel Tower with his mom and dad and sister. So I'm sure he will remember that. And he relates, you know. I think by in pre-K, they start to talk about different countries in the world and all the important places in each country. That's how, you know, he learned about Eiffel Tower, Paris, when he was 4 years old. And he came home and he said, Mom, where is this Eiffel Tower? I want to go and see. Like, yeah, sure. So I think it's very important that when they start to learn about these places, if we can take them there and show them, I think they'll learn more about them.
Yeah, they internalize that information.
Yeah. I mean, they practically see what they are learning. So that would be a good way to teach, I guess.
Were there any challenges with traveling with such young children?
Sometimes they don't eat as much. When they are jet lagged, they be cranky. They make us cranky because they don't eat much. But you know what? You should just take it light. You know, if they don't eat well, you know, they will eat, but not 100%. Even if they eat 50%, that's fine. You know, it's just a few days, and then once they are back home, they'll be back to normal. So, yeah, there will be challenges. I'm sure. You know, food is always a challenge with kids. You know,
always.
So I would say just try to get some basic food like bread and jam or something that they always like, and then keep that as a standby in your backpack. You know, if they don't eat anything, then that is what they eat.
Yeah, and with Adi and Atharv, they are growing up in America, so for them, their staple food is cheese pizza, and peanut butter and jelly. So you go to China, you go to a Chinese restaurant, the first thing that he asks the waiter is, do you have mac and cheese?
And if they say no, it's like, okay, do you have cheese pizza?
Yeah.
That's fine. So in Egypt, I think everyday dinner was pizza for them.
For them, yeah. They didn't have a
taste towards the falafel or...
Yeah, like the Middle Eastern food, they didn't enjoy it as much. So they were just literally living on pizzas for the whatever number of days.
It's got the major food groups.
That's fine.
It's got the dairy and the vegetable, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Whereas my kid, like, he actually seems to prefer the Chinese food and the Filipino food. So, like, he would like the pork buns versus maybe the sandwich, right? Like,
yeah.
So what they're just used to. That's awesome. All right, so tell me more about, since we're on the topic of food, go ahead and tell me a little bit more. We talked a little bit about where the vegetarianism in your Drifty Vegetarians comes from. But I know that as you travel to different places, it can be really hard to have food restrictions. So how have you guys kind of managed? Has it been extra difficult, or have you always just been able to kind of scout it out and find it?
I think one place that was really difficult for us to get some vegetarian food was Brazil.
Of all the countries that we visited, I think Brazil was like super tough. Sao Paulo, especially. Everything was like steak this, steak that, steak water. I mean, it was literally, it was very tough.
I think part of the problem was language. They couldn't understand the simple word vegetarian. You know, we have to say it in that slang, like vegetariano.
Yeah,
And
they
then
wouldn't
they would
really.
understand, oh, these people need some vegetables.
But I think any other country, I think we've never had any issues, finding vegan food or vegetarian food, and I think a lot more countries are opening up to the whole concept of vegan food, and us, just to be safe, on the safer side, when we go to a restaurant, we just say that we are vegans, and something lights up in their minds, and I'm like, oh, okay, we'll make sure that there's no meat contamination, whatever. I mean, they take their
Yeah.
precautions, and so that way, I think we've never had any issues. Even in China, for that matter,
I
like
was
we
gonna
were in
say, because it's
Shanghai.
hard here with food restrictions. They don't like substitutions. They don't like you saying you want something substituted. So
So even in China, for that matter, I think in Shanghai, I think we were there for a couple of days, and I was there for about 18 days when I was on work, but I never had any issue whatsoever. I
And
don't.
they have a very good Indian restaurant.
There have been quite a few good, and yeah, that's one of our other secrets, that wherever we go,
We try to find an Indian
at least
restaurant.
one Indian restaurant, we
Yeah.
try to eat one Indian meal
At least once
during the trip.
during the trip.
It's a good remembrance. I think if you look back, like take our example of Brazil and Argentina. We didn't find any Indian food in Brazil, and in Argentina, we were just looking. We were just trying our luck out to see if there are any Indian restaurants out there, and then there happened to be one, just one, in Buenos Aires, and I'm like, let's go. That's it. Eat, eat, eat. That's what we did.
I'm surprised that there was no Indian. Like, they seem to be everywhere. You would think that there
Yeah.
would be some. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, not Brazil.
Not Brazil. Maybe now, maybe they opened up, but not in 2000.
Yeah, when we were
Yeah.
there, it was like, yeah.
Interesting. Well, maybe if more Indian people are listening, that's an opportunity for you to go and open a restaurant. Evidently there needs to be one. So
Yeah.
has there been any favorite local vegetarian dish that you think everybody should try? Has there been any like best vegetarian dish ever?
In Japan, there's this restaurant called Tea's Tantan. It's a vegan ramen restaurant. I mean, ramen and vegan, they don't go together, but then they nail it. Like, I probably had their ramen bowls at least 25 times, I think. And when we were in Tokyo in January, I think. January, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just-
I had ramen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Can you imagine? I'm like crazy about that place. And I was traveling for work in Japan, so I knew that this place is the place to go for ramen, for vegan ramen. So 2014-15, I probably had the ramen bowls for about 20 times. I told a bunch of my friends who are living in Tokyo at this point that, hey, you should go try that out, and everybody seems to love it. And when we had the opportunity in January, I just took them, and then they had a taste of the vegan ramen as well. So they
I'll
enjoyed
have to
it.
get the name from you and email so I can put it in the blog post for everybody to see the show notes. Because
Yep, sure.
I think people are going to want to know where that is.
Yeah. It's highly rated actually in TripAdvisor and Yelp. It's got pretty good reviews.
All right.
And probably one of them is mine.
Just go find that one.
Yeah.
And Satya, do you have a favorite?
No, I mean, I think the food tour that we took in
yeah.
Egypt, that was my favorite. So we made sure that we tell her that we are vegetarians. So she, the organizer, I think she did an excellent job. What's the name? Is it?
Yeah, so it's a company called Bellies en Route. It's in Cairo. It's in Cairo. She organizes food tours, like local Egyptian food tours. I think she has American roots, but she grew up in Cairo, Egypt. She's extremely friendly. She made sure that we ate only vegan food in whatever places that we were. And she went an extra mile in finding a few extra places that are purely vegan and vegetarian. And she was amazing. And the company's name is called Bellies en Route.
All right, and
I
then
can
we'll
give you
get
that
that.
information.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes as well for everybody. And have the kids liked anything in particular?
Yeah, so the Egyptian vegetarian food was so close to Indian taste that both my kids, I mean, they loved the rice, they liked the beans. Um, yeah, these two were something that they really loved. You know, they were so similar to our jeera rice and
Cumin rice.
Jeera rice is cumin rice, and then the chole that we make with chickpeas. So yeah, so
That sounds yummy.
that's what.
So if you're a vegetarian and you're going to Egypt, make sure you check out the show notes because you're going to want to take this food tour, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, all the local restaurants from outside, they appear as though there won't be any vegetarian food inside, but they surprise us with all these vegetarian dishes.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
and
they worked with you.
And her name is called Laila. So she did some Egyptian magic with the chefs, and then the chefs came back with like tons of food, literally, and everything is vegan. I'm like, are we in vegan paradise now?
So was this tour like over one day, or was it multiple days?
It's a 4-hour.
It's a 4-hour tour. Yeah. I would suggest that you take that tour at the start of your trip so that you know where to eat throughout your trip.
Oh, that's
We
a good
couldn't
idea.
get the slot at the starting of our trip, so we went at the very end of our trip. But yeah, that would be one piece of advice that we can give.
That's a really good tip, actually, for any food tours if you're going to do them, right? Like, and then you know what you like. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to the other big thing you guys talk about, which is sustainable travel. So I know that's one of your goals. What does that mean to you? What does sustainable travel mean to your family?
It's a bit of a conflicting answer, I think, because travel in itself is polluting the environment. So travel, again, as I said, it's a conflicting thing, travel, because you want to see places and at the same time you want to be like environmentally conscious. It's a delicate balance because when you actually fly to a place, you are actually putting in a lot of carbon dioxide in the environment because flight emissions and you know how it is.
Yeah.
So the area where we strike a balance is probably going to be in terms of like, for example, Adya, when we're using diapers, we make sure that they are like sustainable diapers. They're quite expensive, like if you compare it with like a regular, Huggies or Pampers. There are quite a few brands in America, like in Whole Foods or Wegmans, like specialty stores. They have, these eco-friendly diapers. We just buy them wherever we can. Wipes, if we were to use wipes, we'll pay a premium to get something which is like earth friendly, and we don't really use a lot of plastic. In fact, we avoid plastic altogether. We probably carried the same Ziploc bag for 6 trips of ours.
Wow.
Sounds stingy, but that's what we do.
We also carry some boxes, empty boxes. We take them. I usually put some in my bag from here so that I can use them wherever we go if we need just for kids' food, just pack them in the boxes from the hotel that we are staying in. Just take them.
That's a good
And same
idea.
thing with water. We don't really buy water. I mean, if we have to, we do, but then that's the last option. We try and get the water from the hotels because they usually filter the water. There's an RO, like reverse osmosis that they do. So it's pretty safe. But if we are traveling to like a remote place where we have to hike a lot or, if it's remote, then I think we'll probably buy a bottle.
So you
And
just
then
do
we'll
what you
reuse
can.
the bottle again. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I've been
So I
using the
think
same
that's where,
plastic bottle for like 2 years now. It's probably not very safe, but hey, I'm not buying bottles of water. But the other
yeah,
bottles, like the ones you can buy, the metal ones and stuff, they're just so
yeah,
heavy. So, and they're big. So I like my one bottle and I know how much I need to drink. So I just reuse it.
and yeah.
That's awesome. So what other tips do you have for people who want to be more sustainable when they travel?
Um, I think we're still evolving in the whole
Yeah,
sustainable practice at this point. I keep reading a lot of blogs about how people travel who are vegans and who care about the environment. I'm just trying to learn more about how they travel so that we can implement wherever we can. So for now, these are the things that we can think of. But I'm sure if something comes up, I'll let you know.
It's awesome. I know from on our side, we're not. That's not the only reason why we did it, but we decided to use cloth diapers. And when you travel, obviously people don't really want to do so much. So what we do is we have a shell, and then there are these compostable inserts
Yeah,
called bio-soakers that we use inside our cloth diapers. And so and those actually last a really long time, and you can throw those away and it should decompose if it wasn't in plastic and whatnot. So that's another option for people who want to, they have babies to travel with. So that's
mhm.
my little
Yeah,
one tip for anybody wanting to go that route. I'm
yeah,
not
that's a
very
good
good in the
idea.
sustainable aspect, but we try, little steps, right? It's all about our little
Yeah,
steps. That's awesome.
yeah.
So do you have anything else that you guys want to talk about in your travels? Maybe, you guys are going somewhere next. What's on the agenda next?
So we're going to South Africa and Kenya next week. Um, so it's our 10-year anniversary next April 17th. So
Well, happy
we wanna
anniversary.
thank you,
Thank
thanks a lot.
you.
So we want to go to a special place, and South Africa has been on our list for quite some time. And there's a lot of Indian connection in South Africa, like
Yeah.
Mohandas Gandhi, and he was living
Cricket.
there.
Yeah.
Cricket, Cape
And there's a huge
Town,
community there. There's a really large
Indian community,
yeah.
yes. A
Because I
lot
have
of
lots
Indian
of
food.
Indian South African friends.
Yeah,
Ah.
a lot of Indian food also. So I think we're quite excited for that trip. So we just got our immunizations done this morning. Everybody had their shots of typhoid, yellow fever, whatever the doctor said. We just got everything done.
Now, that is, I remember, that's one of your obstacles to traveling, right? Is that you guys have to go and get a lot of visas and things. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Indian passport.
Yeah.
Downside.
That's the pain, getting all the visas done.
Seems like India and South Africa, they're both the ones that have the most difficulties. In fact, I have a friend here in Hong Kong. She's lived here for like 19 years. They ended up just changing citizenships. She's like, we travel too much to maintain my Indian citizenship because it's just so
Yeah,
difficult to get
it is.
all the visas. But,
Yeah.
and so you said that actually kept you from traveling for a little bit. So I guess maybe you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. I think back in 2011, 12, when, I was consulting back then, and she wasn't working, or she was
I was
she was my
working.
dependent back in 11, 12. So she just started working in 2011 ending. So I had the visa to work in the States, but then to get the visa stamp, I needed to go to either Canada or Mexico or India to
And
get
for
my
those of
US
you who
visa stamp.
are not expat lingo speak, that's called a visa run. That is quite
It's a
normal whenever you are an expat. That's something you gotta
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it's a visa run. So I didn't dare enough to go out of the country just because he was born just then, and I just didn't want to leave her side. And
Because it's always a hit or a miss. You go out of US, go for a visa stamp. It's always a 50-50 chance that you get it stamped, or you might not get the
Oh, wow.
stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of documentation involved. There's a lot of questioning involved. Uh, I mean, luckily to this day, I've never had any issue with my visas. Like, pretty smooth. I mean, there's a chance that you can get stuck outside.
It doesn't really matter how experienced you are, what the company that you're working for, if it's a very good company, big company, small company, startup,
It doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't really matter. It's all in the hands of the
Visa.
visa officer.
Yeah.
Wow.
If he thinks that you're missing anything, he may just say that, I need more information. And then that more information translates to 3 months or 6 months.
You never know.
You never know.
So,
Wow. That's a scary proposition then with a new baby at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just didn't take that risk back then. But in hindsight, I think whatever. I mean, I should have taken that risk. Yeah.
Live and learn, right? Like that's all you can really do.
Live
and
and
you know
learn.
what? You had it you have to weigh the pros and cons, and obviously travel is huge for you guys, and I completely related to you, Satya, when you're like, it's been 2 years. Like that's how I feel right now. It's like I gotta get out. But you have to weigh those pros and cons. I mean, even with us, it's just we have something really big on the horizon that we've been saving for, so we haven't been doing the traveling we would like to do, but we know it's because it's for something even better later. So you know what, it was worth it, because otherwise you could have been stuck and then you would have been like, I shouldn't have taken the risk. So in the end, it's all worked out, and I'm glad that you haven't had those problems, because I know that that's a very deep, scary issue for expat families. Is everything going to be okay coming back in? I'm lucky in that I'm an expat in a country that's pretty easygoing. But I know as America is not easygoing at all. Okay, so let's move. I have these questions that I like to ask everybody to end us off with. And you can take a second to kind of think about it, because I know it's kind of getting thrown at you. What do you hope your kids will learn from traveling?
I just want them to be happy. That's it. I just want their childhood to be as memorable as one can imagine, and just be happy. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're making 500K or 200K or 50K. It doesn't matter. I think as long as they're happy, I think that's what I need for them.
Agreed.
And there's always credit cards, so.
Air miles.
Yeah, air miles. Yeah, exactly.
Satya, what do you hope your kids will learn by traveling?
Observe and get to know that there is a different world out there. It's not just what you're living in. Nothing is really same, everywhere with everyone. That's something that they will get to know with travel, and they should be knowing that.
Agreed.
Because Athar, before going to, I think it is Egypt, he didn't know that, there are kids out there who don't have all the privileges that he has. Like going to school, living in a house, having electricity, getting what he wants. There are some kids out there who don't have all that, who don't have parents, who they don't have
Orphans.
mom or dad. So he really felt empathetic towards the kids, and that's a good learning for them. They should know that whatever they have right now is something that other people might not have, or something that whatever you have right now might not stay with you forever. So
I think travel, everyone's worried about kids growing up entitled. I think traveling is one of those like key precautions to make sure your kids don't grow up so entitled. Even though it seems like such a privilege and entitled thing to do, it opens your eyes to the rest of the world, and that you're like, oh yeah, no, I am privileged. I am, in an amazing situation, but it could be like this, and I could help them. So I think that's a big one for sure. So what does traveling with your family mean to you? What does getting to travel with your family mean to you?
I think it's family time. And honestly, we've taken so many trips. Um, I don't know if I can say this, but then during our trips, we fight sometimes, because we are not really able to manage the kids, or, somebody gets cranky, I get irritated, and then she shouts at me. I think in one of the Instagram posts, we did like she's crying and then she doesn't care, and then he's
Yes.
crying, and I'm yelling. So it's there. I mean, whether we are on trips, whether we are leading daily lives, it's there. So I think it's together time is what matters to me personally. I think that's a key factor for us to travel
And I
and then
think that's
experience new places.
honest, right? Like people think that when you go on a vacation or a big trip, that everything has to be perfect and everybody has to get along, but it's not, right? Like you're dealing with so
It's
many
not.
stressors, but you're learning to communicate at least.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right, Satya, what does it mean to you?
It's the same thing, family time. In this world, all our weekdays, work days are so hectic. I get up at 4 in the morning and then sleep by 8 o'clock. There's no, literally, I would say that there is no family time for me,
Yeah.
apart from the weekends. And weekends are so busy that, you have to prepare for your next week. So vacation is always family time, family bonding time for me.
I feel you 100%. I thought it was early for me, but I'm a 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So, and it is. It's like you get like maybe 15 minutes, and that's about it.
And
Yeah.
sometimes me and Shri, we both talk over the phone. When he's driving to office, that's when we actually talk. It takes about 1 hour for him to get to office from home. So that's when we talk,
Yeah.
in a day.
It's hard,
So.
yeah. So this is your time to like actually form those memories.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are a little more than part-time travelers and a little less than full-time travelers. So as soon as we get back from a vacation, we think of where to go next.
Yeah.
And we already have something planned for June. We have 3 countries in mind, along with India. So it's going to be 4 countries.
Nice.
So we want to...
Do you want
I don't know
to?
if I can...
Do you want to? No, let's keep it a surprise, or you want to kind of give a little intro now?
Yeah, I'll probably keep it a surprise. I'll send you an email, but
So you got to go to their Instagram and keep in touch with them through their Instagram to find out where they're going.
Yeah, and I'm already in touch with a couple of travel agents, and who can take us to the cities and like old towns and everything. So I'm in the process, but
That's
I'll let you know first.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So what is one piece of advice to families looking to travel more?
Have a good, like living in America, I think, have a good credit history, because I think that makes a whole lot of difference. Apply for good credit cards. And I actually learned a lot about credit cards from a website called thepointsguy.com. I don't know if you have heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's his name is Brian Kelly. So I follow him like day in, day out. Like every day I go to the office, the first thing that I check is thepointsguy.com. I want to see what credit cards are out there, which can give me like good miles and good points that I can put towards my travel. So that's one of the things that I'd say: have good credit history, and then make a little bit of an effort in terms of how you want to travel. Whether you want to do like a local within the States or you want to go out of the country, I think you'll have to put in a little bit of effort in terms of how you want to plan your vacations. And then the last advice that I'd give is travel smart. I mean, okay, this is our sutra. This is our rule. When we go to India, we make sure that we actually stop in a place. It's been happening for the last 3 years. So we go to India, we either stop in Europe or we either stop in, the last time we did Egypt.
Okay.
So stop, spend like few hours.
Few days.
Few days. And then I think if you look at the pricing, right?
Yeah.
It'll work out to be almost the same, or maybe a little bit cheaper, because you're breaking your journey down into like one large segment into like multiple small segments, and it's a win-win situation. I told this sutra to like 20 or 25 of my friends. Nobody follows it.
No, people do follow.
Some
Some
people.
of them are.
I
Some
really
of them
wish
are.
I really wish I had thought of it. Usually, because as expats, you always feel like your vacation time is getting spent going back to see family, and so you never really get to do anything new. But that's actually a really, really great idea. A lot of times people are like, oh, I just gotta go, I just gotta go, I just gotta go. But to be able to break it up, I wish I had thought of it before booking my flights this summer. That's a really good idea, actually. And then you could always change up the airlines you fly and things like that.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
And what's the other thing that I wanted to say? Yeah, and there's a website called skyscanner.com, which can give you like really good deals. It'll plan everything out for you. Like if you want to break your trip down, it'll really like, I don't know how to say it, but then it'll organize your trip in such a way that you get the best price, you get the breaks that you want, you get to see the countries that you want, and then eventually put you in your final destination, India in our case. But this is my sutra. I mean, I just follow this, like every time I travel, I make sure that I stop in a country, because what's the point? I mean, right? I mean, you're paying 5,000 for a family of 4. If you can like tag on one country for even a couple $100 extra, that's even worth it, right? Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to have to pay another $5,000 just to get to that country.
Just to get
again.
there. Exactly. Yeah. And I have my airline miles, and I have my
Points.
hotel points and everything that I put towards my hotel reservations. So
we never really did credit cards because usually as Americans, like we don't learn how to manage our money very well, and so credit cards get a lot of people into trouble. But when we moved here to Hong Kong, they don't have the ATM with like the Visa and all that stuff, so we had to get a credit card, and we got an Amex because of the points and whatnot. But man, it is so nice just to have it, just to get into like the air lounge, right? Like just being able to just go to the air lounge, not have to worry about food, and you get to sit in this nice little space. I mean, I was, last time we used it, I was breastfeeding, but he wouldn't feed on one side, so I was able to just sit in a comfy spot and pump, and it was just so nice just to have that lounge. It's like it's worth it just for the lounge.
Just for the lounge, yeah. And she has an Amex card, and I have a Chase card. So wherever I don't find a priority pass, we get into the Centurion lounges, and then vice versa. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Satya, what is your advice to families who want to travel more?
I don't think I'm at that point where I can give an advice, but I would say just follow your heart, travel as much as you can. While you can, just experience different cultures, just go out there, just see, it's not an advice, but it's really nice, if you travel and see other places, it's really good.
And she doesn't plan the trips, so she's not the planner. She doesn't do anything.
I just give him the places, I just give him the list. I keep adding.
I was going to say, no, she has a list.
Yeah, I have the list.
Yeah, she has the list, and then she says, hey.
Cape Town and Johannesburg were from my list, so I gave him that, and he made sure that he did it.
And now you have a packing list, I hear, as well.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this packing list.
I mean, I used to have it as a cheat sheet. Now I became a pro, so I just go through that list in my mind. But when I made it, I just sat in my office. I took a 1-hour break with my laptop. I just said, okay, I wake up in the morning. What do I do? The kids wake up. What do they do? So, okay, they first brush. So I need a toothbrush, toothpaste, and then a towel, and then they take a bath. So their body wash, their body cream, and then starting with their undergarments, I plan everything based on the trip, number of days I count, I put them, and then goes the medicines,
Yeah.
fever, sore throat, cold, cough. I have that check.
Such
I
a mom.
Yeah.
And then we have some Indian remedies for any indigestion or diarrhea or anything. So all that was on my list, and then so from wake up time till we go to bed, what all we do in a daily life is what I listed down. So I had that list pretty much till last year, I think. I
But
just got rid of that.
I think it should be there in one of our emails.
Yeah, it should be in one of my emails, because I did it on my office laptop, and I'm sure I emailed it to my personal Gmail account, just to make sure that I have it forever. But now I'm not checking that anymore. It's
I know
it's
the
all
feeling.
And we've forwarded that list to probably 10 families, I think.
Yeah.
And everybody uses it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys,
it's a lifesaver,
if they can find it, we will just go to the show notes and you'll find it there too. They offered to share it with you guys, so hopefully they can find it and share it with. If not, you got a really great breakdown of how to come up with your own list from Satya. So actually, that's a really genius way of doing about it, because then you don't really forget things, right? Like I know what we're going to do in a day and what we need, and you got it all done. That's a great idea. Yeah. Thanks, guys. That's a great piece of advice. What are you talking about? Packing's always stressful. So then where can people connect or find out more about you guys?
So we just started the Drifty Vegetarians only last year. I mean, I created the account, but then it didn't really kick off in a way that I thought it would kick off. I think once we started traveling is when we started getting the attention.
Once we started putting our traveling pictures.
Oh, travel pictures. Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah. So I think this is what I personally feel. I think people get connected with kids and new places.
And food.
Yes. Not so much adults. I think kids are a major draw in our posts. Everything that I post, I usually put a story in terms of what Athar was thinking or what Adya was thinking, and I just try to put a little bit of story to the post.
Well, that's really good for you guys as well, right? Like to be able to go back and look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's what was going on then. Like, because those memories, like we remember the big pictures or even like special little moments, but we don't always remember those normal things in a trip, right? Like those little thoughts and feelings and things like that. So that's a really great way for you guys to do it. Have you guys heard of chat? I don't even have my own chat books, but I'm like telling everybody about them. Have you guys heard of chat books?
No.
So chat books is this company that I think it's like $5 a month or something. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but they will literally just take all of your Instagram pictures and descriptions and make a book for you and send it like every so often. So it's just like this automatic way to get your pictures printed in a book form. And it's like super cheap. So then you could always have it in case that like, the Instagram apocalypse that happened earlier this year, where Instagram like shut down for a day or whatever. You don't have to worry about that because we got it all printed.
Yeah, that's
I need to do this too, but haven't done it yet. So, and then they can find you, of course, at Instagram. And what's your Instagram handle?
It's _drifty. Sounds very similar to thrifty. _vegetarians. So the Drifty Vegetarians. And then you have a YouTube channel as well, which is also just the Drifty Vegetarians. Yeah. Okay. So the vegetarians who drift apart is who drift is the idea behind the title, I think.
I think that's a brilliant title. Like that's very clever, I think.
Thank you.
Well, that was really, really helpful, guys, and I'm so thankful that you have stayed up so late to talk with us. Is there any last words that you want to say? Is there anything else that we didn't get to that you'd like to share?
I think we got to all the points that we wanted to talk about, and we would like to thank you in return, because this is the first time doing any interview, and you've actually made it so easy for us that I just felt like talking to a friend of mine. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks, guys. That's what I really hope that people feel like. And for me, it is. It's like I get to make a whole bunch of new friends doing this. It's actually kind of selfish of me, because it's like, I get to talk to people about something that is so true and dear to my heart, right? And as travelers, we're always just so interested in each other's stories. So it's just a natural segue, I feel. So I really want to thank you guys. That was really, really fun. And I'm glad I'm getting to share it with others. And
thank you.
Hopefully, we will continue to see each other on Instagram and interact. And if you guys do something else really amazing, then you guys can come back on and share it with us.
Sure. That's great. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next time on This Indulgent Life, the podcast.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you again for joining us on this episode of This Indulgent Life, the podcast. We are so thankful to the Drifty Vegetarians for joining us, especially it was so late. Remember to go and check out their Instagram and their YouTube channel. I will put the links in the description or the show notes. And also, I'll put all the links to the restaurants that they talked about and the food tour that they talked about. And hopefully their cheat sheet. Join us next time for another episode where we will be talking with Sheila from Behind Every Day. Sheila goes every year for a family road trip across the U.S. and she'll be talking to us about how she started this family tradition and how you can start a family tradition of your own. So be sure to stay tuned for that episode, especially if you're interested in just how you can create travel opportunities during school holidays. Again, the show notes can be found at thisindulgentlife.com/8. Please be sure to check out those show notes for, again, all the links to the Drifty Vegetarians and everything they talked about, but also for the giveaway. You want to make sure that you enter that giveaway this week. It ends April 24th, and you want to make sure that you read all the information on how to enter. Remember, it's just about leaving an honest review here in iTunes and a rating so that we can help this podcast get out to more people. And then, of course, join us in the new Facebook community. I really want to meet you all and talk to you all. I will check it pretty much every day, and there will be some fun little sharing opportunities and brainstorming and bucket list that we can come up with. Just really want to share together and build this community with you. So make sure you check out the new Facebook community, which again will be found in the show notes at thisindulgentlife.com/8. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.